So let's begin with scene 3 today. See, this scene again takes place in Venice, right? The first scene was there in Venice, the second scene took place in Belmont, but this third scene, it takes place in Venice in a public place. Okay, so you need to note this that the scene takes place at a public place in Venice. Enter Bassanio with Shylock the Jew. So, in the first scene, we already know that Antonio has asked Bassanio to arrange for the money from somewhere else because he himself doesn't have the money, and he asked him to see what his reputation can do in the city, and he can borrow the money from anyone on his behalf, on his name, right? So Bassanio comes to Shylock, who is a Jew and who is a Jewish money lender. Basically, Shylock is a money lender. That is his business. Okay. He earns money by charging interest on the money that he lends to others, right? So Shylock now Bassanio must have spoken to Shylock about the money that he requires, and he asked for 3,000 ducats. Ducats is the currency. Okay, so Shylock is giving it a thought, saying 3,000 ducats. Well, Bassanio says, "I, sir, yes, sir, for 3 months. I want 3,000 ducats for 3 months." Shylock says, "For 3 months. Well, Bassanio, and for the which, as I told you, Antonio shall be bound, and for which Antonio will be bound. Antonio will be bound to give back the money. Antonio will be bound to repay the money, right? So he says, he tells him that Bassanio wants 3,000 ducats for 3 months, and Antonio, he wants it on Antonio's behalf because Antonio will be bound to return the money. So Shylock again gives it a thought. Antonio shall become bound. Well, acha, Bassanio, may you stead me. So can you stead me? Stead me means help me. Oh, all right. So he is requesting for him to help him. Will you pleasure me? Will you oblige me? Pleasure here means oblige me. Will you oblige me? He asks him. Shall I know your answer? Shylock says, 3,000 ducats for 3 months and Antonio bound. Your answer to that? Antonio is a good man. Now, you see, it seems very awkward to Bassanio when he is asking for money and Shylock suddenly says, Antonio is a good man. So, for that, Bassanio says, have you heard any imputation to the contrary? Have you heard any imputation? Imputation means allegation. To the contrary, to the opposite. Means, have you ever heard any allegation against him telling that he is not a good man? For that, Shylock says, oh, no, 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 no. My meaning in saying he is a good man is to have you understand me that he is sufficient. Sufficient here means financially sufficient, financially adequate. All right. So he says, no, 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 I didn't mean that. So Shylock here clarifies that when I called him good man, my meaning in saying was that he is a sufficient, means he is financially adequate, like for surety of 3,000 ducats. 3,000 ducats is amount which can easily be given on the surety of Antonio because he is financially adequate. Yet his means are in supposition. Yet his means are in supposition. Supposition means subjected to the risk. Yet, but at the same time, we should also understand that his means, his resources, means here means means of finances, his financial resources are subjected to the risk. Risk of what? Risk at the sea. All right, risk on the sea. He hath an argosy bound to Tripolis. Argosy, I told you earlier also, argosy means ship. He has an argosy bound to Tripolis, another to the Indies. I understand, moreover, upon the Rialto. Rialto, please understand, Rialto is the stock exchange where all these merchants sit and talk about their business and they do all sorts of business transactions over there, right? So he says that, it means from this speech we'll come to know that that Shylock is very well informed about Antonio. He says one of his ships has gone to Tripolis, another to Indies. I understand, moreover, further upon the Rialto, he hath a third at Mexico, a fourth for England, and other ventures, other business he had squandered abroad. So, other business investments he has squandered. Squandered means scattered abroad. Abroad means to different foreign countries. So, he actually wants to imply that Antonio has not acted wisely because he has taken too much of risk. All his ships are, he has invested all his money on different ships going to different places. So, that way, he has scattered his business all over the places. But ships are but boats. Boats here refer to wooden boats, wooden planks. But how can we be so sure about these ships? These ships are nothing but wooden boats, sailors but men. And at the same time, sailors, those who sail on the ship, they are humans only. There will be land rats and water rats. The way there are land rats, in the same way there are water rats also. Rats are very dangerous for any ship. Water thieves and land thieves. The way we have land thieves, thieves on land, similarly, we have water thieves also, whom we know as pirates, right? So, all these are the risks which are associated with the ships. I mean, pirates. And then there is the peril. Peril means danger of waters, winds, and rocks. And at the same time, there is danger to these ships on the sea. And what are these dangers? Danger of waters, winds, and rocks. The man is notwithstanding sufficient. There is no doubt, notwithstanding is a condition, There is no doubt that the man is sufficient. 3,000 ducats. I think I may take his bond. So, on one hand, he is saying that Antonio is sufficient as a guarantor to give the loan of 3,000 ducats. But at the same time, he also says that whatever money Antonio has, due to which he is so financially sound, that money has been invested on his ships, and his ships are sailing to different directions, and there is too much of risk involved with it. Is it clear? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
But then he says, I may take this bond. Bassanio says, be assured you may. You must be assured that you will take the bond. I will be assured I may. Of course, I may take it. And that I may be assured I will bethink me. And that I may be assured. Just wait, huh? Just wait a second. Somebody. So Shylock says, I will be assured I may, and that I may be assured I will bethink me. So he says, of course, I'll be assured that I may give this money, and I would like to be assured that I may. May I speak with Antonio? So he just asked him, can I speak to Antonio to be assured about this, that I can give you 3,000 ducats? Bassanio says, if it please you to dine with us. Of course, if it please you to dine with us, if it is acceptable to you, satisfactory to you to dine with us, to have dinner with us. Shylock says, yes, to smell pork. Should I have dinner with you to smell pork? To eat the habitation of to eat the habitation which your prophet, the Nazarite, conjured the devil into. Now you see, suddenly Shylock becomes angry as soon as Bassanio, he feels a bit offended as soon as Bassanio invites him for dinner. He says, okay, I should have dinner to smell pork. Now, pork is something which Jews do not eat. It is the meat forbidden to the Jews. Okay, so that's, and then he further says, to eat the habitation which your prophet. So habitation, actually here he means pig's body. Pig's body. So pork is actually pig's meat. So he says, are you asking me to eat the habitation, means to eat pig's body, which your prophet, the Nazarite is actually the Jesus Christ, conjured the devil into. So Jesus Christ healed a madman by ordering the devils that possessed him to leave the man and enter into a herd of pigs. Okay, so it is a legend associated with it. That is why Jews don't eat pork. So he says, okay, so should I have dinner to have pork there? Should I eat something which is denied and by which is denied by Jewish race? I will buy with you, sell with you, talk with you, walk with you, and so following. But I will not eat with you, drink with you, nor pray with you. Now, from here we come to know the racial discrimination. All right, from here we come to know the racial discrimination and the way Christians were against Jews and vice versa. All right. So he says that I will buy with you, sell with you, means I can do business with you, I can talk to you, I can walk with you, and so on. But I will not eat with you, drink with you, nor pray with you. Why not pray? Because they had separate, like Christians used to go to churches, and these Jews, they had their separate Jewish temples. Then he asks, what news on the Rialto? Who is he comes here? Who is coming here? So who is that person? That is none other than Antonio only. So at that time, suddenly Antonio comes over there. Bassanio. This is Sainya Antonio. Shylock aside. Aside means to himself. So here he is talking to himself. वो अपने मन ही मन में ये बात सोच रहा है. How like a fawning publican he looks. Fawning means servile, strict. How like a fawning publican he looks. Publican was Roman tax collector. So why is he comparing to the Roman tax collector? Because Jews used to hate them. Publican is a natural term of contempt and hatred in the mouth of a Jew. Jews used to hate them because they were always collecting tax from them, right? So as soon as Antonio comes over there, Shylock says, "How like a fawning publican he looks! I hate him for he is a Christian. I hate him because he is a Christian." So this is the first reason he gives to hate him, that he is a Christian. But more for that, in low simplicity, low is base, mean, simplicity is the foolishness. But more I hate him for the reason that for low simplicity, for base foolishness, he lends out money gratis. Gratis means without interest. He's such a fool that in such foolishness, he lends out money. He gives money to others without interest and brings down the rate of usance. Usance is the interest. All right. Here with us in Venice. So he doesn't like Antonio for two reasons. One is that he is a Christian, but more than that, he hates him for a reason that Antonio, being a kind person, he lends money to others without interest, which brings down the rate of interest in Venice. You see, if someone needs money, so he would like to go to that person who is not going to charge any interest. And money lending was Shylock's business. Antonio used to do it for the sake of friendship, or he had such good reputation. He used to help people. So Shylock didn't like him for this reason, because he used to lend money without interest to others, and it brought down the rate of interest in Venice. Ritisha, have you understood these reasons?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. If I can catch him once upon the hip, I will feed fat the ancient grudge I bear him. If I catch him once upon the hip, so what does it mean? It is a proverb, catching someone from behind, like getting hold of him at disadvantage. Okay, this is a metaphor from wrestling. It has been used for wrestling, referring to a position when you are throwing somebody, catching someone from behind and throwing him. So this shows his hatred. He is looking for an opportunity. He says, if I can get an opportunity to catch hold of him at a disadvantage, I will feed fat. I will feed fat. Feed fat means fully gratify the ancient grudge, the ancient long standing grudge, grievance I bear him. अगर एक बार किसी तरह से मुझे मौका मिल जाए, तो जो मेरी ये पुरानी दुश्मनी है उससे, जो मुझे खुंदक है, हाँ, grudge is that long standing grievance that I have with him, I bear him. I am going to satisfy that. Feed fat means satisfy. मैं अपनी जो ये पुरानी खुंदक है, जो पुरानी grudge है मुझे उससे, मैं उसको satisfy कर लूंगा. And now he tells more reasons for his hatred to Antonio. He says, He hates our sacred nation. He here refers to Antonio. He further says Antonio hates our sacred nation. So the way Shylock used to hate Antonio, in the same way Antonio also used to hate Shylock because he was a Jew. He hates our sacred nation and he rails. Rails means abuses. And he abuses even there where merchants most do congregate. Congregate means assemble. He abuses my nation at the place where most of the merchants assemble, that is Rialto. All right, on me. And what does he abuse him on? He abuses him on me, mean he's saying Shylock himself. My bargains, bargains means business deals. He abuses me. My bargains means business deals, and my well won thrift. Thrift is the profit. And he also abuses me for my well purchased, well won profit, which he calls interest. Cursed be my tribe if I forgive him. My whole tribe should be cursed if I forgive him. Now, from this speech of Shylock, which he is giving aside to himself, we come to know his heart's feelings towards Antonio, and it is very much clear that he hates Antonio for being a Christian, for bringing down the rate of interest in Venice because he lends money to others without interest, and at the same time that Antonio has abused him and his business dealings. And he abuses him for charging interest from the people. Okay, so for all these reasons, Shylock doesn't like Antonio at all. Now, you see, Antonio comes over there. Suddenly, Shylock is lost in his thoughts because he is thinking of all this. So Bassanio asks him, Shylock, do you hear? Shylock says, I'm debating of my present store. So he suddenly, tries to changes this thing and he says, I'm debating. Debating means calculating. I'm just calculating of my present store. Store means saving, my present saving, how much money I have. And by the near guess of my memory means as much as I can guess, as much as I can remember, I cannot instantly raise up the gross. Gross is the amount. I cannot instantly raise up the amount of full 3000 ducats. लेकिन जितना मुझे याद है मैं एकदम से तो 3000 ducats नहीं दे पाऊंगा. What of that? लेकिन उससे क्या फर्क पड़ता है? Tubal, a wealthy Hebrew. Hebrew also means Jew. A wealthy Hebrew, a wealthy Jew of my tribe will furnish me. He will help me. He will supply me. So he says, even if I don't have 3000 ducats, it doesn't matter because I'll ask my friend to give. But soft, but wait. How many months do you desire? कितने महीने के लिए चाहिए तुम्हें? And then suddenly he talks to Antonio because Antonio was standing there. Rest you fair, good Sainya. Your worship was the last man in our mouth. Means we were talking about you only last time. So Antonio says, Shylock, albeit means although I never lend nor borrow by taking nor by giving of excess. Excess here refer to interest. Although I neither lend nor borrow money by taking or giving interest. Yet, to supply the urgent wants of my friend, ripe wants means urgent need. Yet, to supply the urgent need of my friend, I'll break a custom. Custom, you can say a kind of habit. Okay? He says, though I am such a person who never uses interest, मैं कभी भी ना तो इंटरेस्ट लेता हूं ना देता हूं जब मैं किसी को पैसा उधार दे रहा हूं चाहे ले रहा हूं लेकिन अभी अपने फ्रेंड की रिक्वायरमेंट को पूरा करने के लिए उसकी अर्जेंट नीड को इमीडिएट नीड को पूरा करने के लिए आई एम रेडी टू ब्रेक माई हैबिट आई एम रेडी टू ब्रेक द कस्टम मैं उसको तोड़ने के लिए तैयार हूं देन ही आस्क्ड बेसानियो इज ही येट पोजेस्ड हाउ मच यू वुड पोजेस्ड मींस इन्फॉर्म्ड इज ही येट इन्फॉर्म्ड हाउ मच यू वांट तुमने बता दिया उसको कितना पैसा चाहिए Shylock says, aye, 3,000 ducats. Yes, 3,000 ducats. Antonio, and for 3 months. Shylock, I had forgot. हाँ मैं भूल गया था 3 months. You told me so. तुमने बताया था मुझे. Well then, your bond. तो फिर तुम्हारा bond क्या होगा? And let me see. But here you see these long dashes which have been given over here. they always refer to some kind of pause. Huh? So he says, and your bond. Let me see. Then suddenly he is remembering something, and suddenly he says, but hear you, lekin suno. Me thoughts you said, me thought means I think you said you neither lend nor borrow upon advantage. Upon advantage means upon profit. शायद तुमने ये कहा ना कि ना तो तुम पैसा लेते हो देते हो प्रॉफिट पे. Antonio says, I do never use it. I never use advantage. Now Shylock gives a reference that is a classical reference, historical, mythological reference. He says, when Jacob grazed his uncle Laban's sheep, this Jacob from her holy Abraham was. Uh, Ritisha, have you understood as much as we have done till now?
Yes, ma'am.
Should we do this much only? Because after this, there is another context. And then I will take Laisha also. What time are you supposed to leave?
Ma'am, we're supposed to leave by 7.
Acha, it's 7 now. Earlier you were saying
Yes.
na 6:30.
No,
Chalo, it's
no,
okay.
7. That's why. So that we both can get ready.
Okay, so will Laisha be studying today or not?
Yes, ma'am, she will be studying.
What time?
Ma'am, right now at 6, I think you told me.
No, no. See, I have two ways. Either means you will study till 6:30, right?
Yes.
So either I can carry on with you only, or I can teach Laisha also. Tell me how it is
Ma'am,
to be done. Hmm?
ma'am, what do you think we should do?
I have to take nouns for Laisha. I think I can do in half an hour. See, your scene to that way also is not going to be completed. ये तो पूरा तो नहीं हो सकता है ना?
Hmm.
Okay, so let's do till here only. ठीक है? I
Okay.
will explain you rest of it in the next class. So when is our next class going to happen? Tomorrow
Ma'am, yes, ma'am.
at the same time,
Yes,
5 o'clock or
ma'am,
5:30? हाँ,
ma'am, 5:30.
ठीक है.
Okay.
Okay, beta. So ask Laisha to join after 5 minutes. Huh?
Okay, ma'am.
I am ending this class now, and Laisha should join after 5 minutes.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, beta. So here we see that Shylock is a bit offended with Antonio when he says that he has never lent nor borrowed money on interest. Okay, so for that, Shylock, when he is taking into consideration whether he should give the money or not, and what kind of bond will be formed for that. So he says, I had forgot 3 months. You told me so. Yes, you told me so. Well, then your bond means what will be there for your bond. Let's see your bond. But then suddenly he is reminded of the fact that Antonio says, but here you, listen to me. Methoughts means I think you said you neither lend nor borrow upon advantage. Upon advantage means upon profit. That profit means the interest only upon benefit. I think you said that you neither lend nor borrow on benefit. Antonio says, I do never use it. No, I never use that. I never use interest. So for that, Shylock tries to explain himself by giving a classical allusion, which is actually a story from the Bible. So he says, when Jacob grazed his uncle Laban's sheep, this Jacob from her holy Abraham was, as his wise mother wrought in his behalf, the third possessor. He was the third. So he is giving the reference of this classical allusion, this story. Abraham was actually this Abraham, he is saying, na, this was Abraham. Abraham was the founder of Jewish race. Okay, he was the founder of Jewish race, right? And Isaac was his elder son. Isaac, he was his son, and Jacob was his grandson. Okay, Isaac was his son, and Jacob was his grandson. Right? Now, this Jacob was actually Jacob was the third in this line of heirs to the family estate. Okay, Abraham is the first one. After that, his son Isaac is there, and he is the third. So now he is giving this reference. He says, when Jacob grazed his uncle Laban's sheep, Jacob used to work as a shepherd also, and he is giving an example that when Jacob grazed his uncle Laban's sheep, and then this long dash, which means a pause. Now he tries to explain who Jacob was. This Jacob from our holy Abraham was holy Abraham. He was considered holy because he was the founder of Jewish race. As his wise mother wrought on in his behalf, wrought means schemed or plotted in his behalf, the third possessor. So Jacob was the third possessor. Why? Because he was the third in the line of heirs to the family estate. Aye, he was the third. But then suddenly Antonio interrupts him and asks him, and what of him? What about him? Did he take interest? Means, why are you quoting him here? Did he take any sort of interest? Shylock says, no, not take interest, not as you would say, directly interest. No, he did not take any interest as you would say, directly interest. You did when Laban and himself here means Jacob, when Uncle Laban and Jacob were compromised, means were agreed that all the endlings are newborn lambs. Newly born lambs are called endlings. Lambs, you understand, na? Young ones of sheep. So newborn lambs are called endlings. So there was a compromise. There was an agreement between Uncle Laban and Jacob that all the endlings, all the newborn lambs, which were streaked and pied means spotted. Streaked means spotted and pied means having two colors. Okay, having a fleece with two colors. Their fleece was spotted. Okay, so all the newborn lambs which have fleece with two colors should fall as Jacob's hire. Hire means share. Should fall as Jacob's share. So there was a compromise between Uncle Laban and Jacob, because Jacob used to work for Uncle Laban, that the newborn lambs whose fleece will be there with two colors, they will come into Jacob's share. So this was a way to thrive. Suddenly, he comes to the point saying that this was a way to thrive. Thrive means make profit. This was a way to make profit, the kind of agreement. So you can't say that he took interest, but yes, in a way it was his interest, because he was trying to gain profit from his work, and he was blessed. And thrift is blessing. Any sort of profit that we get is blessing if men steal it not. If men do not steal it. So, in a way, what is he trying to say? He is trying to justify the interest that he takes. Okay, he says that any kind of profit which is earned by a person and not stolen, which is earned by a person, is a kind of blessing. So, there is nothing wrong in it. He is trying to justify the interest that he takes from people, while Antonio doesn't like it, because Antonio feels taking interest on amount of people that you are lending to others, it is a kind of benefit that you are trying to acquire from someone's misery, from someone's poor condition, right? Which is not a good thing. But look at Shylock, he is trying to justify it with this reference made from the story in the Bible. Okay, he is talking about Jacob, who was the grandson of Abraham, the founder of Jewish race. Okay, so for that, Antonio suddenly, he says, this was a venture, sir. It was a deal, it was a business deal that Jacob served for. You can't say that it is any kind of interest or profit. It was, in a way, a kind of remuneration. It was, in a way, a kind of reward that Jacob got for his service, a thing not in his power to bring to pass. And at the same time, this is something not in his power to bring to pass. This is something which is not in his hands, whether that power that could cause to happen. What power? It was not in Jacob's hand whether these new endlings they will get two colored feathers or not. So it was just by chance. If two colored fleece is there on those endlings, only then Jacob would get them as the share. So it was not any sort of profit. It was a kind of remuneration, you can say salary, the kind of reward that he was getting for serving Uncle Laban, but swayed and fashioned by the hand of heaven. It was not in his control, in his power to make something happen, but swayed and fashioned. It was something which was influenced by the hand of heaven. It is done by the God only. Whether an endling would get two colored fleece or not, this is not in human control. It is controlled by the heaven. Was this inserted to make interest good? Inserted means quoted. Was this quoted to make interest good? Did you quote this example to justify that interest is good? Or is your gold and silver ewes and rams? Or you want to say that your gold and silver, they are ewes and rams. Ewes and rams, again, they are sheep. Rams are male sheep and ewes are female sheep. So he says, what is the objective? What is your purpose of quoting this example? Because it has nothing to do with the conversation that we are making at this moment about interest. So Shylock, now, even Shylock, you can see in what an embarrassing situation he would have been, because the example which he gave to justify interest was truly condemned by Antonio. For that, he says, I cannot tell. I make it breed as fast. It here means money. I cannot tell whether it is justified or not justified. My point is that I want my money to breed fast, to grow at a fast pace. But note me, Sanya, listen to me. Now you see, Antonio makes fun of him. He says aside to Bassanio, mark you this, Bassanio. Bassanio, look at him, note this. The devil can cite scripture for his purpose. The devil, he is calling Shylock the devil. The devil can cite means quote. The devil can quote the scripture for his purpose, for his benefit. See, he is such a person that he can quote scripture for his benefit. An evil soul producing holy witness. He is an evil soul producing, giving holy witness, holy arguments, is like a villain with a smiling cheek, a goodly apple rotten at the heart. So he compares him to a villain with smiling face. He says that he is a devil and he is quoting scriptures. He is giving holy examples to prove his point for his own benefit. He is so selfish. He is like an evil person who is having cheerful face, or means like a villain, or a kind of goodly apple rotten at the heart. Goodly apple means attractive apple. Goodly here means attractive. An attractive apple which looks very good from outside, but it is rotten at the heart, but it is rotten inside. Oh, what a goodly outside falsehood hath. He's just making fun of him. What a goodly outside. Outside here means appearance. What a goodly appearance falsehood had. झूठ का जो बाहरी रूप होता है वो कितना अच्छा होता है, कितना अट्रैक्टिव होता है. तो इन अ वे ही इज मेकिंग फन ऑफ शायलॉक. Shylock, suddenly he comes to the point because he wants to avoid this conversation. So he suddenly says 3,000 ducats. It is a good round sum. ये काफी अच्छा खासा पैसा है. 3 months from 12. 3 महीने के अंदर देना होगा. And then let me see the rate. Rate here means rate of interest. So okay, then let me calculate the rate. Antonio, well, Shylock, shall we be beholding to you? Shylock, what do you want to say? Shall we be beholding to you means shall we be indebted to you? क्या मतलब कि अब हम तुम्हारे कर्जे में रहेंगे? For that, Shylock, now you see, gets really offended and he tries to explain himself. He says, Sina Antonio, many a time and oft in the Rialto, you have rated me about my monies and my usences. He says, Sir Antonio, many a time and oft means often. Often in the Rialto, I told you earlier, is the stock exchange, or you can say a kind of share market where these merchants used to sit. You have rated me. Rated here means abused me, cursed me, cursed or abused me about my monies and my usences. Usences means interest or profit. Most of the time, you have abused me or cursed me for my money only, my interest only. Still, I have borne it with a patient shrug. Still, I have borne it. I have tolerated it. Borne here means tolerated it with a patient shrug. Still means always. I have always tolerated it with a patient shrug. Patient shrug means I never used to pay any heed to it. For sufferance is the badge of our tribe. For sufferance, sufferance means long suffering is the badge. Badge is the feature or characteristic of our tribe. We are patient by nature, and it is a badge, it is a characteristic of our tribe, of our race. That is why I always tolerated the kind of misbehavior that you did to me. You abused me, you cursed me for my money only and for my interest only. You call me misbeliever, non-believer, cutthroat dog, and set upon my Jewish gabardine. Gabardine, is the long cloak that Jewish people used to wear. Okay, so it was worn traditionally. And spat upon, it's spat here, and spat upon my Jewish gabardine, and all for use of that which is mine own. So he is reminding Antonio about the kind of behavior which Antonio has often done to Shylock. He says, "You have always misbehaved with me. You cursed me. You abused me for my money and my interest only. I always tolerated that. You called me non believer. You called me cutthroat dog. Even once you spat on my Jewish gabardine. And all this you did for the use of that which is mine own. It has nothing to do with you. Well, then, it now appears you need my help. But now, see, you need my help. अब लगता है कि तुम्हें मेरी जरूरत है. Go to then. You come to me and you say, Shylock, we would have monies. You say so. You that did void your rheum upon my beard and foot me as you spurn a stranger car over your threshold. So he says, but at this time, you are in need of money. So you should come to me. You come to me and you say, Shylock, we would have monies. We want some money. You say so. अब तुम्हें कहना पड़ेगा. You will have to request. You, तुम, that did void your room upon my beard. Void your room again means spat. You who spat upon my beard. तुम जिसने मेरे beard पे थूका था. And foot me. Foot here means kick me. And kicked me as you spurn a stranger cur. Spurn again means kick a stranger cur. Cur is a dog over your threshold. Over your threshold means out of your house. So this time you need money. You should come to me and request for it. You should tell me that you want money. You, the same person who once spat on my face and you kicked me like you kick a strange dog out of your house. Money is your suit. Money is your request now. It is your need now. What should I say to you? Should I not say, hath a dog money? How do you want me to behave? What should I say to you? Should I not say, hath a dog money? अब मैं क्या ये नहीं कहूंगा कि क्या किसी डॉग के पास पैसा होता है? Is it possible a cur can lend 3,000 ducats? क्या ये पॉसिबल है कि एक कुत्ता एक डॉग जो है वो 3,000 ducats किसी को उधार देगा? Or shall I bend low and in a bondman's key, bondman's means slave, slave's key is the tone, and in the bondman's key with bated breath means hesitation, hesitation, with hesitation and whispering humbleness. So, in what way you want me to behave? मतलब shouldn't I say, you always used to call me dog. Shouldn't I say, does a dog have money? Shouldn't I say, is it possible for any dog to lend you 3,000 ducats? Or what do you want me? In what way should I behave? या फिर मैं ये करूं कि मैं आई शुड बेंड लो इन फ्रंट ऑफ यू, मैं तुम्हारे सामने झुकूं एंड इन अ बॉन्ड्समैन की एक स्लेव की तरह जैसे बड़ी घबरा कर विद बेटेड ब्रेथ एंशियसली हेजिटेटिंगली एंड विस्परिंग हम्बलनेस विद बीइंग हम्बल टू यू, मैं आपसे कहूं से दिस, मैं ऐसा कहूं, वैसा यू स्पेट ऑन मी ऑन वेडनेसडे लास्ट, आपने लास्ट वेडनेसडे मुझ पर थूका था. यू स्पर्न मी सच अ डे, एक दिन आपने मुझे स्पर्न मीन्स पुश्ड मी आउट, एक दिन आपने मुझे धक्का दिया था, पुश किया था. अनदर टाइम यू कॉल्ड मी डॉग, एक बार आपने मुझे डॉग बोला था. एंड फॉर दीज कर्टसीज आई लेंड यू दस मच मनी. एंड फॉर दीज कर्टसीज, और ये जितनी भी कर्टसी आपने मुझे दिखाई है, ये जो आपके पोलाइट एक्शंस थे, इन सब के बदले में मैं आपको पैसा उधार देना चाहता हूँ. Should I behave in this way? Now Shylock is being a bit dramatic here, and at the same time, he is right also on his part. He says, you are getting what you have already done. If I am charging interest from you, what is wrong in this? That is my business. And you have never behaved good with me. You have always misbehaved with me. So, in what way do you want me to behave with you right now? Can I be in good terms with you? He is trying to say that. But Antonio is a person who hates Shylock equally, and he also is really offended when Shylock says so. So Antonio says, I am as like to call thee so again, to spat on thee again, to spurn thee too. I am as like to call thee so again. मैं फिर से तुम्हें ऐसा ही कहूंगा. To spat on thee again, फिर से तुम पे थूकूंगा. To spurn thee too, फिर से तुम्हें किक करूंगा, धक्का दूंगा. If thou will lend this money, lend it not as to thy friends. For when did friendship take a breed for barren metal of his friend? He says, if thou lend this money, agar ye paisa tum mujhe udhar de rahe ho, lend it not as to thy friends. Do not give it to me as if you are giving it to your friends. For because when did friendship take a breed for barren metal of his friend? When did friendship take? He is giving a classic example actually. When did any friend take a profit for barren metal? Barren metal means unproductive money of his friend. Okay, profit of unproductive money of his friend. कौन अपने दोस्त से profit लेता है उस unproductive money के लिए? But lend it rather to thine enemy. If you are giving me money, lend it to me as if you are doing it to your enemy, who, if he break, thou mayst with better face exact the penalty. So that if he break, means lend the money to me like as if I am your enemy, so that if I break means break the bond. If I am not able to repay it within the bond, you may with better face exact means withdraw the penalty. तो अगर मुझे पैसा दोगे, फ्रेंड सोच के मत देना, दुश्मन सोच के देना, कि जिससे कि अगर मैं विद इन टाइम आपको वापस ना कर पाऊं तो यू कैन आस्क मी फॉर पेनल्टी. इज इट क्लियर टिल हियर? ओके.
Yes, ma'am.
Then Shylock says, why, look you how you storm, look you how you storm. तुम गुस्सा कैसे होते हो, जरा देखो. Now suddenly Shylock changes. Earlier he was trying to show his offense, and he was trying to show that he is very angry, but when he saw that it has no effect on Antonio, suddenly he changes his way and he say, look how you storm, the way you get angry. I would be friends with you, would be means I want to be friends with you and have your love. Forget the shames that you have stained me with. Supply your present wants and take no doit of usance for my monies, and you will not hear me. Now, suddenly, Shylock is being very sweet to him. He says that I want to be friends with you and I want to have your love. Forget the shames that you have stained me with. Forget the shames. Shames means insults that you have disgraced me with. Stained here means disgraced me with. भूल जाओ जो भी कुछ तुमने आज तक मेरे साथ किया है. Supply your present want. Supply with what you need. Present want is what you need. And take no doit. Doit was actually a small Dutch coin. I will not take even a coin of usance. Usance is interest. I will not take even a coin of interest for my money, and you will not hear me. मैं तुमसे एक पैसा भी नहीं लूंगा अपने पैसे के बदले, और तुम मुझे कहते हुए भी नहीं सुनोगे. This is kind I offer. This kindness I offer to you. It is kindness that I offer to you. Right? So suddenly he changes his attitude. Now Bassanio becomes very happy. He says, this were kindness. वाकई में ये kindness होगी. Shylock says, this kindness will I show. Of course, I will show you this kindness. Go with me to a notary. Notary is an official, legal officer, you can say. Go with me to a notary. Seal me there. Seal means sign me there, your single bond, and in a merry spot. Merry spot means you can say in fun, in a funny way. If you repay me not on such a day, in such a place, such sum or sums as are expressed in the condition of the bond, let the forfeit is the penalty, let the forfeit be nominated for an equal pound of your flesh, To be cut off and taken, in what part of body pleaseth me, pleases me? Now, suddenly, Shylock becomes very kind, and very sweet to him. And he says, see, I will not take even a single coin as interest for my money. You just sign a bond. Let's go to the notary. We'll have a single bond there. And in that, it'll be clearly mentioned, it'll be nominated there that if you are not able to repay on such and such day, such and such amount, as expressed in the condition of the bond, then as the penalty, I can take equal pound of flesh, 1 pound of flesh from your body, and it can be taken from any part of your body, whichever I like. Now, Antonio says, content, satisfied in faith. Yeah, I'm satisfied with this. Why is Antonio satisfied? Because he is thinking that he needs not to pay any interest. I'll seal to such a bond, I'll sign such a bond, and say there is much kindness in the Jew. And at the same time, I'll also say that the Jew is being very kind. Then Bassanio says, you shall not seal to such a bond for me. I'll rather dwell in my necessity. You shall not sign such a bond for me. You will not sign such a bond for me. I'll rather dwell in my necessity. It is better that I live in my need. Okay, I do not want my need to be satisfied. You should not sign such bond for me. All right. Uh okay, Ritisha, just wait, huh? Hmm. So now, when Bassanio is being suspicious about the bond and he wants Antonio not to sign such a bond for him, which has a risk of his life, for that, Antonio says, why? Fear not, man. Don't be afraid. I will not forfeit it. I am not going to withdraw the bond. I am not going to forfeit it. Within these 2 months, that's a month before this bond expires, I do expect return of thrice 3 times the value of this bond. He says, now, why is Antonio so overconfident about his situation that he will not be able to forfeit the bond? Because he says that within 2 months, my ships will return and I will get a good return of money, which will be thrice the value of this bond. Value of this bond is 3,000 ducats. So he says that I'll be getting at least 9,000 ducats within 2 months, which is 1 month before the expiry of the bond. But here, Antonio is being overconfident and he is very prudent about his business also, because he is completely ignoring the dangers which are associated with the ships on sea, right? So Shylock says, oh, Father Abraham, what these Christians are, ye kaise log hain, whose own hard dealings teaches them suspect the thoughts of others. So, Shylock doesn't like it and he says, what kind of people Christians are, whose own hard dealings, because they themselves are so hard, so strict, whose own strict dealings teaches them suspect, doubt the thoughts of others. क्योंकि ये खुद ऐसे हैं, खुद बहुत स्ट्रिक्ट हैं अपने डीलिंग्स में, इसीलिए ये दूसरों पर शक करते हैं. Pray you tell me this. I request you, please tell me this. If he should break his day means day of payment. If he's break his promise to pay on a certain day, what should I gain by the exaction of the forfeiture? What will I gain by the exaction? Exaction is the withdraw of penalty. Forfeiture is penalty. What will I gain with that? A pound of men's flesh taken from a man is not so estimable. Estimable means valuable, profitable neither as flesh of muttons, beefs, or goats. See, a man's flesh taken from a man is not at all valuable, not even it is profitable. It is even not as good as the flesh of muttons, beef, or goat, because that at least you can eat. Men's flesh is of no use. I say to buy his favor, I extend this friendship. I am telling you, I extend this friendship to buy his favor. I am not charging any interest just because I want to extend my hand of friendship towards you. If he will take it, so if he takes it, fine. If not, adieu, bye bye. And for my love, I pray you wrong me not. Wrong me not means don't take me wrong. Okay, for my love, I request you, don't take me wrong. I am just doing it. It is a kind of favor that I am making to you and that I am doing out of friendship. Antonio, yes, Shylock, I will seal unto this bond. I will definitely sign this bond. Shylock says, then meet me forward at the notary's. Then meet me at the notary's. Notary, I told you, notary's office. गिव हिम डायरेक्शन फॉर दिस मैरी बॉन्ड, उसको बताओ किस तरह से ये बॉन्ड बनाना है. एंड आई विल गो एंड पर्स द डकेट स्ट्रेट, एंड आई विल गो एंड पर्स द डकेट, आई विल कीप द डकेट, आई विल गो एंड कीप द डकेट्स in my purse. See to my house left in the fearful guard of an unthrifty knave, and at the same time I will see to my house and ensure that my house is safe, which is left in the fearful guard. Fearful guard means unsafe guard of a of an unthrifty knave. Unthrifty knave here means irresponsible servant. Okay, irresponsible servant. Actually, irresponsible servant, he is referring to Lancelot Gobo, about whom you will be studying in the next act. And presently, at once, I'll be with you. So he says that let me go home, take the ducats from there, and also ensure that my house is safe, because my house is left in the unsafe guard of an irresponsible servant. Antonio says, "Hi, the gentle Jew," means make haste. Hi, the means make haste. Jaldi karo. All right. Antonio, the Hebrew, and so Shylock exits from there. After that, he says to Bassanio, the Hebrew I told you means Jew only. The Jew will turn Christian. He grows kind. जिस तरह से ये kind हो रहा है, ऐसा लगता है कि ये Christian बन जाएगा. Bassanio, I like not fair terms and a villain's mind, but I do not like his terms and villain's mind, means I do not trust on him. Antonio, come on. In this, there can be no dismay. Dismay means sorrow. There can't be any disappointment. So, not sorrow, dismay means disappointment. There can't be any disappointment in this. My ships come home 1 month before the day, because my ships are coming 1 month before the day of expiry of the bond. All right.